Hi,
Hello,
I'm Lee, and I want to be in the sequel.
and I'm Nathan. I don't want to be killed off.
And you're listening to
They're Here,
podcast
a discussion
and disembowelment,
of all things
horror,
fear.
and the macabre.
So today we have obviously the best thing in the world,
John Carpenter's 1978 classic,
Halloween. Written obviously and directed by the absolute legend himself, John Carpenter, but also, of course, written by his,
Then wife
then
and
wife.
future collaborator, Deborah Hill.
Amazing, obviously amazing. She's been with him since absolutely everything. Actually, that was the
Since
first
Halloween.
thing since
Yeah.
Halloween, and then she did obviously all the other films that he's since together. Like they did everything together.
They've been doing everything together. Yeah.
Everything, I mean, on everything, everything.
I mean, yeah.
So this stars, of course, obviously the iconic Scream Queen herself, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Great set of lungs.
This was her first.
Her debut.
Her debut, wasn't it? Yeah, it was her debut. And then, of course, obviously the legend himself, Donald Pleasence, who plays Samuel Loomis, who
Not
is
to cycle there.
Michael's. Of course, yes, of course. Of course, we love a little nod to
Nod to
Easter
fans.
eggs, nod to the fans. Of course, he plays the evil, the Shape himself, Michael Myers. He plays Michael Myers' doctor, psychiatrist, and So I mean, you got a star-written cast there. I mean, it's also cinematography by the absolute legend Dean Cundy,
Another John Carpenter collaborator.
Frequent
Longtime
collaborator. deep friend of the pod.
Deep friend of the pod.
He's been quite a few things actually. I mean, like he's obviously famous for Jurassic Park.
Big Trouble Little China.
Big Trouble in Little China, Tales from the Crypt, and
Garfield 1 and 2.
and Death Becomes Her. So this guy has a wide kind of presence
Now a career.
with his movies. So it's pretty strong cast, pretty well led, directorial smash hit. It's autumn. It's getting darker. We start to need those jack-o'-lanterns, specifically even just like the opening scene.
Orange is very big in fashion this time of year.
Orange and black, man. Orange and black.
So
I would like you to start us off this time. Let us know what you think.
cold open, Myers' house. We get the iconic scene, not the first, but possibly the most iconic POV shot of from a killer. Michael walking around the side of the house.
The wrong angle.
The wrong angle. Oh God, we'll get to that. We see Michael look through the house to see his older sister Judith and her boyfriend going upstairs for a quick 34-second romp.
Which we'll get to.
We'll get to. They won't, but we will. By the time Michael's made it around to the back to grab a knife and a mask, they're already done. He's putting his shirt back on.
He is hopping down the stairs and leaving.
He's already done. We got a freak off, bro. Judith is fully like, thanks, that was great. And he's like, bye, as he puts his shirt back on, because the only thing they got to do was get slightly undressed.
Take off the shirt and put it back on in a different way.
Very 60s. Just take off your shirt, please. Thanks.
So mod vaudevillian.
So we get this. So we get Michael going up the stairs. Shut the fuck up!
At the wrong angle. It's the wrong angle. I can't get over that. I can't unsee that. You pointed that out to me.
The last time
and I
watched
just
Halloween.
cannot unsee that.
We get the shot where Michael goes to put on a mask, and I'm actually almost certain that it's Deborah Hill who fills in as like Michael's body
Michael.
at that, where we see the two like fisheye lines like that looking down to grab the mask and the knife, and the arms come from like off to the left. They come from like off screen to grab the thing, to grab the mask and the knife, and so Michael heads upstairs to find his 16-year-old sister Judith not even undressing, brushing her hair after that very, very exciting romp. She finds him. She says, Michael! And he stabs the shit out of her.
I love it.
They show us Deborah Hill's little 6-year-old boy looking arms coming down and striking Judith to death.
But that's actually, honestly, it's honestly just the weirdest thing I've ever experienced, because like I said, like I never noticed that until you pointed it out to me, that how wrong the angle of the arm versus where the eye level is. Plus also Michael isn't as tall, nor is he small enough to be making that kind of huge leap of distance between where his arm should be and where the camera has his arm.
It looks crazy. It literally looks like somebody's filming somebody from across the room when he's stabbing her.
Exactly.
And they show you just every time he stabs her.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you know.
And then of course he just, looks at her corpse, which is, just a gratuitous nudity shot. I mean,
as one does to
pretty famous in those, the late 70s, early 80s. It's just tits out the whole time, most of it. And he just saunters on down the stairs, and I think he sits at the porch, or he stands at the porch when his parents come in.
Yeah, he literally stands like on their driveway at the front. His parents come up and take the mask off him, and see
it's that
Michael,
iconic shot
exactly of the pan out
in the clown costume.
But it's kind of a weird, because it's not a freeze frame. It kind of just pans out, and Michael and his parents are just stood there like just stood still, like that. It's not like a freeze frame or anything like that.
Very strange. And then of course it cuts to,
and then we get a time jump 15 years later, 1978. Here we meet Loomis on his way to Haddonfield Sanitarium.
Was it to collect Michael, or
it
was to collect him? Okay.
Yeah. Where we see it's a stormy night. We see patients wandering all around the grounds, and then we get that weird, like, we get the first like sting of music where Michael jumps up on top of the car.
Yeah.
And we technically see Michael without the mask, and he's just in the robe, and
yeah, he's like on top of the car. No, Loomis goes out and like tries to find out what the hell is going on.
Oh yeah, Loomis goes up to the gate.
The nurse is it the nurse? She's just like a helper. The nurse is just there, and then she doesn't notice him getting up on top of the car.
She doesn't notice at all. She has like her 12th cigarette of the scene, and it's like a 5-minute long scene at best.
Consistently smoking through it every single shot, and this cigarette does not change.
Never.
It's either super long, or it's still super long, and cigarette doesn't change. I'm almost certain
as well, there's a point in that scene where she like lights a cigarette and puts like half of it away, and then like lights another cigarette back up. But yeah, we got Michael stalking her around the car, and then she leans up against the window, and we get the most like plastic looking window of all time.
I thought it was always like sugar glass. Sugar glass.
It's literally that. It's like that FX glass, but it looks like it's got like a sheet of like cling film or like tape.
Yes, and it's just
because the thing doesn't.
That was me making the hand noise just in case. It was terrible.
The window doesn't like fall the whole way through. It like stays completely intact, and then he kind of just like.
Does he grab her hair?
Yeah, he just kind of like manhandles her. Bit. And then she gets out of the car and like falls down the hill, and Sam's like, "No, we must let him escape, the evil." Yeah.
And let's be clear, they never, although it's in the credits that he's never mentioned as Michael Myers. He is mentioned only as the Shape.
The Shape, yeah.
And I did not know this. Exactly. Yeah. I did not know this until, again, like you pointed out. These are like certain things that they're very subtle, but they're things that I wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah.
And ever since then, like, I like the term, obviously, because Michael Myers, that name is just iconic. But the Shape, to me, when he's named as the Shape, is kind of more terrifying, because it takes away from his humanity, which I mean he doesn't have.
Like he's just evil in the shape of a man.
Exactly.
Yeah, like they kind of refer to Michael. Well, especially Loomis refers to Michael throughout the whole series as like the embodiment of evil. Like he's like he's not a man. You know? Even when it gets to the
dead behind the eyes.
Exactly.
Darkness.
Even when it gets to the reboot, he's like insisting on it's like we must incinerate him. You know what I mean? Like he has to be destroyed. Yeah, but like in that movie, nobody really knows except for Loomis and the police force that Michael is who he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everybody who's been attacked doesn't know
who this person is. Yeah, exactly.
But they kind of don't point that out in the movie.
That's true. Yeah, But again, it's just one of those another subtle things that you sort of pick up on after, or not just rewatching it, but later on you start to think about certain things, like the fact that if Michael has been in a mental, I pointed this out, and he drives.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't understand, like, who gave this mentally like disturbed child driving lessons? And then he drives
that's one of those
off.
things of like we just don't question it. You know what I mean? It's like
it's just like he needs a ride somehow.
Exactly, yeah. I like that in Rob Zombie's remake though, they do have him just like walk everywhere. I kind of like that. Like they make him more of like a mountain man, like wilderness person.
Yeah. But also he's like in that Halloween, I mean we've gone off in a bit of a tangent, but in that Halloween he's like hugely built.
Yeah,
he is
I think Tyler
big ass wrestler, like looking muscle guy, you know.
Oh, he's huge. I love that that question in the remake of like, are you a giant, when he's like talking to that little kid, and he's like literally this like 6 foot like 7 gigantic wrestler.
Terrifying. So then of course we move into Haddonfield, Illinois, which is not a real place.
No,
but it's based off of a small suburban area that Deborah Hill used to live in, apparently. She just stuck both of those two words together, Haddon and Field, and then she just used it as a fake town name for obviously this place, which is really interesting.
I like that because like Haddonfield kind of is supposed to be like a placeholder for like small town USA. You know what I mean? It's supposed to just be anywhere. It's like
Stephen King's Derry.
Exactly.
Like he uses this place as, you know, New England town, just, you know, constantly under threat from monsters and the horror.
Exactly. I heard that like it takes horror out of like a haunted house or like a giant castle
to a real world context.
Exactly. I think that that's also kind of like what freaked me out the most as a kid, was that like this isn't some scary place. He's not living in some like cave. He's not like a scary monster. It's just a dude in suburbia, just like walking
the streets.
Exactly. I think like the scariest shots in this movie are of
him standing in corners.
Exactly. It's that, you know, Tommy sees the boogeyman from across the street and he's just standing there. That's terrifying. That's the worst. Yeah.
I always thought it was iconic when obviously like Laurie is the first time like she's walking alone, and then obviously of course that iconic like John Carpenter themes starts playing, and then obviously the shape Michael appears to be standing, I think it's a hedge or it's a tree. I think it's a hedge. This
is the next day. After school, Laurie and her girls, you know, they're totally leaving school. So they're walking home, and they see Michael behind a bush. Actually, no. Before that, Laurie sees. That's another iconic.
Yeah, Laurie does see him.
Laurie sees
like
Michael,
I think it's in the classroom.
Yeah,
at the window.
They're having the conversation about fate and Frankenstein and all this kind of stuff. And she sees him,
which is important because that actually plays into it later. That whole quote,
they kind of, that's one of those shots that they use like to death.
They're establishing
series.
Shots. Yeah,
exactly, because it's like one of the shots or whatever. She sees Michael and then he's gone. You know, and then they leave school, and on their way home they get
with Linda.
Yeah, he drives
totally spaced.
Totally. I always forget my English book and my math book and my science book and my geography book. Yeah,
she reads the whole 9 yards.
Totally.
The acting talents of her.
I think it's. Oh my God! No, what was the line?
Souls.
Is that Devon Graham? Slow down, jerk. Speed kills. Yeah.
And then slows down, and she shits herself because obviously the car as it stops, her really slows down.
The car just like stops right. Yeah, and then they're walking home because I think they drop Linda off there. They drop Linda off there, and then on their way home, they see Michael is just standing there behind the hedge. Yeah. And this kind of like plays in again to like Laurie's fear of like men in general. Like she's virginal, but not because she's like altruistic or because she,
it's just circumstance.
Exactly, she's just terrified of men. And Annie walks up and like goes behind the bush and stuff like that, and is like kind of like pranking the shit out of Laurie, you know. And Laurie kind of like wants it to be true, like a little bit, you know.
That's actually something I wanted to ask, was because up until this point, I mean, the subsequent films and sequels and all of that type of stuff, they had established that there was a familial connection between Laurie and Michael.
Yeah.
But in this film, there's no connection to that.
Oh, there's no mention at all. Like,
So
I think that
what was confusing me was why Michael was specifically stalking Laurie, because it seems to me that like either there is some reason why he wants to be around her or is following her, or it's just he happened to spot her from across the street through the classroom window and was like, oh, I like her, I'll go kill her.
Well, that's like literally what it is. Like, if you haven't seen Halloween 2, or if you consider the current timeline that's going on where it's just Halloween and Halloween.
And there's been a retcon, yeah.
Exactly. The only connection that Laurie has is the fact that she drops the keys to the Myers house for her.
Yes,
for her dad.
and he sees her, yeah.
Exactly. And then we find out, like, in that story that she's adopted. She was adopted by that family from the Myers house or whatever like that, and she still lives across the street. But yeah, there's no familial connection in this. That was tacked on for Halloween 2 to kind of give a little bit more reason. Yeah. Which, like, on one hand, I can see why they would do that, to give, like, an actual reason as to why he would be stalking her. Like, why her specifically. Like, why he kills her friends and continues to go after her. Yeah. But then I think the idea of that she's the innocent one and she's just being stalked for no reason is also really scary. It's the thing with he spotted her and he wanted her. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's really, really terrifying. That, like, for no reason.
But it plays into that theme, because I know Carpenter, that's something he wanted to kind of mess with, was the whole stranger danger theme. Yeah. Because that came out in the 70s, and the 60s and 70s were very not puritanical, but they were very against deviantism and all of that type of thing. So yeah, it's almost like Halloween is a PSA for stranger danger as well, because I mean, several times when Tommy runs into Michael the Shape, where he's just like, I'm just gonna, get away from this guy, or like, I'll stay the hell away, or I won't go near him, or there's something about him that I don't like, I don't know who he is. But so it's very much a PSA for it.
For sure. Like, there is that scene where Tommy's leaving school and he has this fucking gigantic pumpkin, yeah. And Lonnie, like, that little kid who ends up, like, we'll see him later.
Such a little shit.
And then they push him over and he falls right on top of this pumpkin and just breaks it.
That was me and you.
Exactly. You're like, that's an expensive pumpkin, bro.
That costs a lot of money.
The pumpkin was big. And then you see that kid run out of the schoolyard
straight into him.
Just run into Michael with that
smack
sting.
Right into him. Yeah.
I love that. That always scared the shit out of me. And then we just see Michael walk and kind of follow these kids. Yeah. And we just hear the like
dun dun. Yeah.
You just hear that. But that's really, really creepy though. Like the idea of this man just following this kid. Like if you saw that out of context, you'd be like, Michael likes little boys.
Actually, something else that I wanted to point out is actually a bit of fun, like, trivia for this film. It was shot during spring of 1977, I believe. So it obviously came out in 78, but it was shot during the spring of 77. So all the trees, if you actually look at all the, like, even the bush that Michael is standing next to, it's full green. Yeah. But they had to buy, and they actually struggled to buy pumpkins. So I guarantee you, when that little kid smashed that pumpkin, they were like, okay, that better have been a good shot.
It's the only one we got. Yeah.
It's the only pumpkin we have.
Or even go back to that, you can see that, or like, what was it? I've heard all those stories that, like, they had to, like, get leaves.
Yeah, they had to get dead leaves.
And then after they had to, like, collect all the leaves back up.
They had to collect them, yeah.
They didn't have no
because they had such a horribly small budget.
Yeah. And
because it was an independent film.
Exactly.
So they only got funding. And then, of course, I mean, obviously it blew up. But, like, it's just, like, it's absolutely... And then, obviously, like, not just that, but, like, all the actors wore their own clothes. So there's no costumes. Well, apart from obviously Michael's, mask about most. But like all the actors wore their own clothes. So like, the budget was like super tight, and they spent most of that on the cameras. They spent most of it on Panavision cameras. Yeah. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah.
So then
I think what happens.
Okay, so Laurie finally gets home, Another one of those really, really creepy scenes where Michael is doing nothing but standing there, where she looks out her window and she just sees him standing out there in the sheets.
In the sheets, yeah.
And she thinks it's her neighbor, and then she gets that call, the first like call, and it actually turns out to be Annie. Annie's like pranking the shit out of her. It's a prank, bro. So then they're like devising their little plan of like who's gonna babysit who, and like could Annie drop Lindsay Wallace over to
the struggles of being a teenager and one person having a car.
Can you just do my job so I can go and get railed by my boyfriend later, please? Happy Halloween.
To me.
Hey, I know you're a virgin that has nothing else to do on Halloween, but can you just do my job for me, please? Thanks.
I actually love the fact that you mentioned that whole Michael standing in the sheets, because that has been used several times since then, because obviously that's an iconic shot. Yeah. Like I've seen it in American Horror Story. It was in American Horror Story when he was jerking off and he sees
Daddy Murderhouse was having him some alone time.
Jerking off and crying. And then of course in The Conjuring as well, when they're putting the sheets, when Vera Farmiga's character is putting the sheets away, and then obviously, you know,
one of the sheet flies up against
hits. Yeah. So like, I mean, there's so many like just iconic shots that are still used today from back then, you know? Yeah. It's just really, really awesome. You know?
Like even within the series itself, it's like there's kind of certain things in a Halloween movie that you like have to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You have to have that shot from across the street. And I love what they did in the 2018 film where it ended up being Alison looking across, and instead of Michael it was Laurie. Yes. I love that. Kind of just there.
If I had to pick a scene from that, it was the when Alison has left her friend, the drunk guy who tried to get with her after your man broke up with her. And
but I called you pretty. What did you kiss me for?
I thought you were sending me signals. And he turns around and he's in that garden with the online, and then Michael just appears there. And then what you can see is like the breath coming off of Michael, and then it goes black, and then he's gone, and then it goes white again, and then that is just another one of those like standing far away establishing shots, but like it's just equally as terrifying as him standing across the road from someone. Like, this is really good.
Literally, like the idea that like something can scare you so much and he's just standing there. He's not doing anything. Like Michael doesn't run, Michael doesn't talk, Michael doesn't make quips, Michael doesn't,
he grunts
exactly,
groans and
at best, you know.
Actually, come to think of it, that's actually something else I was trying to think about was the mask itself. That is there's something about that, it's just so simple. You can guess why we're probably laughing if you've seen the memes. So the first thing was, it was originally meant to be, I think it was a clown mask originally it was meant to be, but they thought it was too like, there was something about it that they just didn't like, design team didn't like.
Yeah, they went with the clown mask for Michael as a kid though.
As a kid, exactly. And what happened was they went for, it was a William Shatner mask.
Yeah, they just made the eyes bigger.
They just made the eyes bigger, and they painted it white, and they made the hair look a little bit more matted and like grossed out or whatever. But I think it was the fact that it distorted the mask in such a strange way that it just made it frightening.
Well, it's because he just looks like a dude with no eyes.
Yeah.
Like there's like
or Mariah Carey.
Literally, y'all, if y'all have never not looked at a picture of Michael Myers and Mariah Carey beside each other,
we'll put it up later.
Do yourself a favor. It'll be
favor.
on the Insta.
You'll see it, and you won't be able to unsee it.
Jesus Christ, it's insane. So, same day, Loomis gets to Haddonfield, right, to look, to investigate, and goes to Haddonfield Cemetery to find that Judith's headstone has been removed.
It's been removed, yeah.
Also, another scene we get millions of times in this series, you know, missing headstone. Finds Judith's headstone is missing. Then he goes and meets with Sheriff Brackett, you know, daddy.
You want him.
Oh, for sure, bro.
it's just like I mean, like, obviously that tombstone is going to play into, I mean, of course, Michael has a sense of theatricality later on in the movie.
Yeah, Michael likes to set dress. You know, Michael likes to create an atmosphere. It's Halloween, huh?
But we'll get to that.
So at this point, everybody is still doubting Loomis as to whether or not Michael is actually dangerous or whether or not he's just...
Yes, he's dangerous.
He's just about, you know...
I don't think anyone would disagree with him at this point.
But still, actually, no, we do get one kill. We have one kill between Judith. We get the mechanic, something like everybody else
of course.
where Michael gets the
where he gets the jumpsuit, of course.
And Loomis finds him on the way, which is kind of happenstance, where he kind of just like notices that there's like a car off the side of the road, and then he goes and finds a dead person.
Of course,
a person without his clothes on.
What did you say about Michael diddling kids?
Yeah, man, it wouldn't be the first Michael. Sorry to the Michael Jackson community.
Oh my god.
To the Jackson estate. So later on that night, we got Laurie babysitting Tommy Doyle. This like annoying little shit. Tommy Doyle is the worst part of this movie. While her friend Annie babysits Lindsay across the road. Lindsay being played by Kyle Richards, current Real Housewife of Beverly Hills.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I live.
We stan.
We stan a Real Housewife, but she's recurring. She's back for the new movie Halloween Kills, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta love a good return character.
No, but I love that though. Like for some
recurring
reason,
theme or just good returning character that just won't die.
Well, I love that though. Like it completely ties it back to the first movie.
Oh yeah.
Which is what I want out of a sequel.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! So that same day, Annie comes to collect Laurie in her car, the gorgeous red car, and they listen to a little Blue Oyster called "Don't Fear the Reaper." You know, they're like having a little J, more.
We do that on Halloween.
Having a little J, and then they pull up to the hardware store where Sheriff Barker, Annie's father, is, and he's fully like. Yeah, no, it's fine. She's like, "What's going on here, Dad?" He's like, "No, it's fine. A couple of kids just sell a couple of masks, some rope, and a knife. It's fine."
Nonchalant. It's fine.
I hope that weed smell coming out of your car isn't from you girls. And they're like, "No, it's fine, Mr. Barker. Bye. We're on our way to babysit." So, girls get to their respective babysitting houses. Laurie goes over to the Doyle's house to babysit Tommy. Annie goes to babysit Lindsay across the road. When Annie's boyfriend Paul calls her to come and exactly, full stop. No, when Paul calls Annie to come and quote hang out like straight people do, Annie then tries to dump Lindsay onto Laurie. Basically like, "You're a virgin, it's Halloween night, you don't have shit to do except your job and my job, here you go, take this kid."
That would be like, imagine like, you know, your kid turning around telling you as a parent like, "Yeah, this babysitter just handed me over to another babysitter." And
then I almost got killed. Fuck, bro. I almost got completely butchered over here.
I always love that just like whole nonchalant, like not giving a shit at that time. Like, yeah, it's fine. We'll just fuck all the kids into one room and they'll turn out okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. We'll put on the
thing
from another world.
The thing,
which I really like.
Such a nod, of course.
I love that though. Where it's like, did he know? Did he know at the time?
I'd say he did. He was probably like, you know, in the process of writing the script, you know, or like they were in the process of talking about, you know, having him direct it. Of course, like there's no way. Like, I mean, that's just, you know. That's like the biggest nod Easter egg I've ever seen. I think
it only came like 6 years later or something like that, 84, I think.
He could have been writing it for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Carpenter is a fucking genius, so yeah.
We love Carpenter over here.
We stand Carpenter.
We worship Carpenter in
Deep friend of the pod. I bet you didn't know, right? Huh. So there's something that I was thinking about for a while, and I actually read it up, and I thought it was really strange. So, of course, you know, the film has its crescendos. It goes from like very low to very high to very high, and just the tension keeps building no matter what is going on. And I love the fact that when Carpenter was shooting the film, he shot it completely out of like shot for shot. Like there was no cohesion between one scene and the next scene. He just shot it completely. He was free to do it this time. I mean, they shot it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They shot it in over 14 days, over a period of I think about 2 months, or was it a month? I think it was. But he shot it all in the wrong order, and so what he did was he put a fear meter. So he described to each actors like what state of fear or panic you should be in for this scene, which to me is genius, because then obviously, I mean, like you're telling someone like you are meant to be shitting yourself right now, or you're meant to be slightly spooked because you might have seen a man standing outside your window, you know.
I wish.
But it was but it's definitely that, you know. It's really smart in my opinion, but it's also a little unorthodox, because of course you want to make sure that your cast know when, you know, if they're going to get the proverbial chop, or if they're going to it's a little chaotic. But fair enough, it was shot in the 70s, so I'd say there's a lot of everything that was chaotic at that time.
Yeah, man, straight people are wild.
Yeah, just blame straight people for everything. How dare you?
I mean, you guys started it all.
It's true, bitch.
I mean, I didn't see Michael out here with a limp wrist. Okay.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
So we get Annie, spills melted butter all over her fucking self, has to get naked as shit. Goes out into the washroom, which is detached from the house. It's like a whole ass other building. Gets locked in there.
Rich white people.
Right. Please have some credit. Yeah, and then walks Lindsay over, gets her ass locked in the fucking washroom.
Yeah, doesn't she get like stuck halfway through a window or something? Yeah,
she gets stuck in the window, and Lindsay comes in and her legs are like flailing out of the window and shit. So, this is where Michael kills a dog. That's another one of those rules that you kind of don't break.
Yeah.
While she's on the phone, she hears the what does she say? She's like, "Oh, I'm getting mauled by the family dog," or whatever like that, and she puts him outside, and he's still barking. And then we get this weird it is a reverse shot where the dog is, it shows the dog like going limp. It sees like Michael picking the dog up and then the dog go limp, but it's like a reverse shot of a dog like
its legs being straight and then pulling its knees up.
Exactly. So it looks like the dog just like.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't notice that.
It's weird because it's one of those that's like shot like really, really in the dark. And then, Annie...
Due to poor lighting conditions, because they couldn't afford it.
Exactly. They couldn't afford a real dog. So, yeah.
That was actually a person in a costume.
It was Deborah Hill with like a fur glove on. Yeah. Sorry, Deborah.
Sorry, Debbie.
Deb. Oh, Deb.
Deb.
Miss Hill. Yeah, so we get Annie walking Lindsay over to the house, and Annie is like butt ass naked, and he's wearing like socks and a jacket, and then she goes off to meet up with Paul, but before she can do that,
she's got to clean herself up
and die. So Michael's waiting in the back of her car.
Michael has a schedule to keep.
Michael has a kink, you know. Michael's kink is non-consensual killing,
as opposed to consensual, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's been done. But no, he like grabs her from the back and chokes her the fuck out. And the faces Annie is making.
Oh my god.
She is cross-eyed to bits. She's like pressing on the horn and shit like this.
Yeah.
Also, Haddonfield becomes completely unpopulated.
Empty.
The only people that are around are Michael, Laurie's friend, and the 2 kids, and Loomis. And that is it.
And the one cop, of course.
Where the fuck is everybody?
Which they're also having some sort of a tiff every now and then.
Yeah, every once in a while he's like, God, I fucking hate this doctor. Bitch, you stupid doctor.
They do though. I mean, like there's several times where they don't necessarily butt heads, but they're like at odds with each other.
Well,
but they're still looking for the same person. Like.
They're looking for the same person, but it's like, okay, you're a doctor. Why do you have a gun? Okay, first of all, that's illegal as fuck, bro. You shouldn't be doing this. I'm pretty sure this is also the part where we get that weird scene where Lonnie and those like 2 kids that like were like the boogeyman is gonna get you, where they show up to the Myers house and they're all daring each other to go in, and then you get you get Loomis delivering this weird ass line. And he's like, "Lonnie, get your ass away from there," and just scares the shit out of all these kids. It's like, is Loomis just like, this is what he's doing tonight? You know what I mean?
This is his plans if Michael wasn't escaping.
Yeah, like Loomis would still be just around like creeping out little boys. Jesus Christ.
I do think that's just, you know, that's like, again, like very consistent as to like John Carpenter's thinking at the time. He was just like, oh, screw it, I have time, I'll do this scene and then I'll just go for it.
You have a couple of reels of Phil and laughing Loomis.
Can you imagine? Oh my god, can you imagine like Peter Cushing or Christopher Lee doing scenes like that?
Jesus Christ.
Because they were approached to do the role, but they decided not to because of money. They were like, no, I want to be paid more.
It is crazy though to think of like what, because like there's like,
I mean, like I only see Samuel Loomis's character being played only by him and not by Peter Cushing or anyone else, really.
It would be a completely different thing though, because it switches the whole dynamic. I feel like you
imagine
have
Christopher Lee fighting Michael Myers.
Samurai, like, yeah,
Christopher
Lee, yeah, Christopher Lee,
long wig,
Christopher Lee in Cher drag, like fighting fucking Mariah Carey in a jumpsuit.
Oh my god! I swear we'll put shitting yourself in a closet. Yeah. Is the boogeyman gone?
God. Where the fuck are we?
Sorry, we get off on tangents sometimes. It's just it's too good to pass up when we find these things.
Oh, okay. So we then get to Linda and Bob. Bob is such a cutie, but
just because he has a mullet and not a mullet. Is it a mullet? It's a mullet.
No, he's got the little like
those floofas.
He's gorgeous.
And glasses. He's the guy with the glasses, isn't it?
Got glasses, yeah. So they go to have sex upstairs in the house that Annie was supposed to be babysitting in, even though Bob has a van, which is like the whole point of buying a van like that is to fuck in. So they go upstairs and they leave all the beers in the fucking car for some reason. So when they go upstairs, they have sex, actual real sex this time, like a couple of minutes.
Not like 30 seconds.
Exactly.
Of, like,
she rolls over and she like has a cigarette and she's like, "So you want to go get me a fucking beer?" Blah, blah, whatever like that. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll go get you a beer." So then he goes downstairs and makes himself like a sandwich or whatever like that. He's in the kitchen, not getting her a beer, by the way. Not very good boyfriend material. And then
wouldn't hire him.
No, not for a day. And then cute for a taste, not a swallow. And then we get that scene, the like weird gravity-defying scene of Michael bursting out of that closet and somehow being able to pin this fully grown man to
right
a wall.
Up against. Actually, it's not a wall. It's a cupboard.
Oh, it's a cupboard.
It's a cupboard door.
And he's just like a good few feet off the fucking ground like this, pinned with a knife.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, it's a cupboard door. The whole thing is like, I actually, again, this is something that you pointed out to me, and then I was looking going like, that is not physically possible. It's a cupboard
the knife would have to be like
door.
this long.
Yeah, it would have to be going right through to the wall of the other side, and it's a cupboard. The door is not going to hold a fully grown man.
No,
it's not even close. Plus, actually, I gotta hand it to Cundy for his cinematography, because it's pretty much from this moment on, it's all blue ambient black lighting, blue and white, exactly, and it is just beautifully shot, and especially obviously the scene of the inside the wardrobe, and we will talk about that later, but like those scenes in particular, like from this moment on, because it's backlit from, I think it's a glass door in the background, so it's backlit from there, and all you see is their silhouette.
Like it's two cabinets on either side of these two glass like sliding doors. And it's all kind of moonlit. Like there's no
very well lit. It's very well done.
And that's another scene, that's another trope we get a lot in the Halloween series, of people being pinned up to walls with objects that are way too short to pin them up against the wall. Again, we get that in the remake, but it kind of makes more sense.
When it's something bigger. Like, I mean, I think one of the deaths was those fireplace
like a poker.
pokers.
Yeah, like that makes
one
a
of
whole lot
those
more
was
sense.
being used.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm thinking about another film, but like that's definitely like just it's like when you pick apart these movies, it's just like that's not feasible. That doesn't make sense. Why is this working? Why does that not
Halloween
work?
4, I never understood how he was able to like pin what's her fucking name? The police officer's daughter in that movie. He pins her up against the wall with a shotgun.
Yeah.
He just like gets her with a fucking shotgun.
Or where he randomly decided to dye his hair pure white.
Oh, I'll never understand some of the choices
He
made.
went through a phase.
No.
Michael went through a phase of wanting to be total My Chemical Romance.
Michael said, "Cut it short and make it platinum." Okay?
he had a phase. He had a phase.
Mariah's in a rebellious phase.
Oh my god! Actually, that's another thing. I mean, like it was originally meant to be called The Babysitter Murders.
Ugh.
So I know, right? Fucking terrible title. But it was only actually changed due to them like budgetary constraints, meaning they were trying to like address it to a wider audience and make it look something more highbrow.
Exactly, tied to a holiday.
But exactly,
Very
tied to a
Black Christmas.
holiday. And try and sell the absolute shit out of it, because obviously, I mean, of course, it was an independent movie, and then, I mean, like, fair enough. Like, what, 40 minutes into the movie, 45 minutes into the movie, you have the first murder. Well, when I say the first murder, I mean the first babysitter murder.
Yeah.
So like, of course, then it does sort of make sense, but I can definitely understand in hindsight, like the change of title was better, you know.
It is just weird because then it makes you kind of think like, why set it on Halloween then? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then we get leading after Bob's death, we got that scene of Michael going upstairs in the sheet.
In the sheet, of course.
That was my Halloween costume last year. My like last minute Halloween costume with the glasses over top, and we get that scene of Linda coming up out of bed, going, "See anything you like?" You know, and then she's like, "Where the fuck is my beer, bruh?"
Another flash of gratuitous nudity.
Exactly. She's like, "Where the fuck is my beer?" And Michael said, anyway, yeah, and then she like gets a phone call while he's like walking up towards her, and she's on the phone to Laurie, and Laurie thinks it's just another one of those calls, another like breathy call, but it's fully Linda getting choked the fuck out by like a phone cord.
Yeah.
By somebody in a sheet. That's so embarrassing.
But also, I don't get why he, unless he wanted to dress up, but it doesn't make sense for his character considering right up until that point.
Yeah, Michael
why is he trying?
Michael could do 2 tearaways. He's got a costume underneath his costume. Jesus.
Got a tearaway underneath my tearaway.
And now you're dead. So he kills Linda, and then...
How does he kill her? Oh, he just strangles the shit out of her. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets her with the telephone cord.
Hard.
So Laurie goes over to the Wallace's house, which is where Annie was supposed to be babysitting.
That always confused me. I was like, by the time they handed the kid over, I was completely confused as to which house that they were in. I was so confused by this.
You know, same. I always got kind of confused as to like what location was where, but like, yeah. So, after a while,
because they all look the same. The houses all look the same.
Exactly,
yeah.
like inside and out. So
same
Laurie,
set. It's probably the same set.
It's literally that. So Laurie like gets like a bit like suspect after a while and goes over because Annie was supposed to come back because she was only supposed to go out and meet up with her boyfriend for a bit. So Laurie gets like for a bit, small bit, brief encounters with the dead girls.
Rick and Morty fans.
So yeah, Laurie goes over to the Wallace's house to go see like what the crack is, and then she finds this is where we find Judith Meyer's headstone.
This is the set dressing.
It's set dressing. Michael has an aesthetic. Michael is a fan of set dressing.
Nope.
So,
Home Depot.
Is Michael Myers the Dean Cundy of his own world?
He well is.
Shout out to Dean Cundy.
Love you.
So
deep friend of the pod.
Deep friend. So we find Michael has like strung people up. He's got chicks laid out on a bed. He has
someone stuffed into a wardrobe, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got
what's his name?
Bob.
Bob, yeah.
Just sitting there. Yeah, and Michael somehow is managed to like
Is
pick
married
up.
to.
Michael is married to the game. Michael has somehow like managed to like exhume a gravestone and carry it through Haddonfield and bring it to this house, set it up.
Because, like, that's a full rural area where that cemetery is. Meaning he carried that thing for miles.
Somebody would have had to have seen...
Of course.
Mariah Carey in a short wig. Mariah Carey in a buzz cut wig. Mariah Carey in
carrying a headstone
wig.
over his back.
Yeah. I pictured it like under his arm, like a magazine.
I always thought it was funnier, just like him hunched over, like holding like this, like walking for miles.
He's got it like in a little purse.
Yeah.
So we see Annie laid out in front of Jude's headstone.
Laid out.
Which I think like there's supposed to be a correlation there between like he saw his sister like in a sexual way, so he kind of like freaked out and killed her, and then he also saw Annie in that kind of way as well, because she was like I suppose like the other two friends, they were just the sluts of the group, quote unquote sluts. The sluts.
We stand a slut.
We stand a slut. Yeah, slut legend. What the fuck does that even mean? God, that's what I get for trying to sound young and hip. God, how do you do it?
I knew it. I knew there'd be a little joke somewhere. This asshole has it out for my age.
This young asshole.
Geriatrics.
Yeah, geriatric asshole. God. We're like not even talking about Halloween anymore. So, she's slut. So this is when Laurie gets like her shirt ripped. He rips her blue little shirt, her cute little blue shirt. She falls over the stairs and falls right into the sitting room. This is also the scene that scores the finale of Scream. It's like the same thing that's playing. So she sends the two kids down to the... Whose house is it again?
That's why I get so confused. I have no idea whose house she's in or the house she was in, because they go back and forth, and then there's the reverse shot of which house they're in, so I'm terribly confused by that most of the time.
Yeah.
But I just know it's a house, she's in it, it's one of the kids' houses, and at one point I completely thought the house was the Michael Myers house. Was the Myers house that they were in at the last minute.
Yeah, see, because like the geography of Haddonfield is fucked up. I need a map confusing for just this street.
Straight line.
Literally though, right? So yeah, Laurie sends the kids down the street to go run for help, where they run into Loomis.
And he comes.
And, that's when she like stabs the shit out of him. Because she has to fight Michael to get the two kids. Yeah, she fights Michael. She gets trapped in the closet. Because
she hides in there.
Yeah,
thinking it's the best way.
Yeah, exactly.
She quickly undoes the coat hanger.
Stabs him, and then that's when she sends the two kids down the... But Michael comes...
Yeah, the kids are... Yeah, no, the kids are definitely in the room, at least.
Yeah, the first attack
unless they're behind the door or something.
I think that's what it is. The first attack happens... God, we know so much about this movie. The first attack happens, and the kids are still in the house. There's, like, scuffle. Laurie... stabs him in the eye with the coat hanger.
Lunges back. Still only makes like a grunt or a groan.
Yeah, he literally just like jerks back. And then he's lying on the floor, and she sends the kids down to the Mackenzie's house. That's what
Mackenzie's.
It is.
Yeah.
Goddamn Mackenzie's. Sends him down to the Mackenzie's house to go run and like get help or whatever like that. And that's when we get the shot of Michael sitting up Dracula style. With the
of course. And there's that score, that like penultimate, like this is where shit really goes down, hits the fan.
This is where
she grasps for it. Yeah. So they, as far as I remember now from when I watched it recently,
like a month ago,
she comes out. She goes to the stairs. Samuel is coming up the stairs.
No, because she has another little small piece of fight with him where they're in the sitting room.
He tries to choke her, or...
Yeah, Michael is behind the couch, and this is where she, like, stabs him with knitting needles first, and then she stabs him with his... Yeah, and she stabs him with his own... What kind of 17-year-olds are here knitting on Halloween night? Jesus.
It was the 70s, man. We didn't have iPhones back then.
So what her other two
We also didn't have internet porn back then.
Also, where the fuck are the costumes? Ain't nobody fucking dressed up in this movie.
Yeah,
He's
but they were
dressed up
coming
as, like,
home.
an astronaut.
They were coming home.
So, it's still Halloween. Where the fuck is everybody?
Why? As soon as I come home, I'd take off my costume.
You have no dedication to the look. So.
You would know.
Oh, I would fucking know. I wait. Let's not go there. So. So. Scuffle ensues. Sam.
First name basis.
Miss Loomis. Yeah. Loomis shows up. That is Loomis. She is Loomis. Shows up to the house. This is so messy. Shoots him 6 times.
6 times. No less, no more.
The number in that changes, but like he is shot 6 times in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure in like the next movie he's like, I shot him 5 times, but it's like no, he's like fully didn't. Yeah.
He goes over the balcony.
Just before that, we see Michael unmasked though. We see 23-year-old Michael.
Literally. Oh, of course, because Michael's played by 3 different people?
Yeah, the shape.
Stunt actor.
Yeah, Nick Castle is Michael as Michael with the mask on, and then we have some other unknown. Sorry to you if you're listening. As 23-year-old Michael, we see Michael's face, and he's just got a fucked up eye. And then he gets shot a bunch of times, falls off the balcony, and yeah,
because he gets shot as he's trying to like pull the mask back over himself.
Exactly, another one of those like just a jerk back, and then he's off the thing.
Yeah.
And then Laurie looks over, and she's like, "Was that the boogeyman?" And Loomis is like, "Yes, I do believe it was," or whatever. That was the worst fucking English accent ever. He's like, "Yeah, I do believe it was." And then, they look over and Michael's gone.
And he's gone, yeah.
And we hear that sting at the end of Michael just breathing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that. The very end of Halloween it just pans to, like, different parts of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
To kind of show that it's, like, Michael's, like, still out there.
Yeah.
Like, I love a good ending like that, though. Especially, like, back in the day where, like, sequels weren't, like, huge. Sequels weren't like the norm.
No, I actually think like sequels were relatively unheard of at that point.
Yeah, especially like for like slasher. Well, I suppose like slashers weren't even a thing then. No.
Yeah,
like,
sure. That was the one who started that. Well, I don't know about the whole slasher genre.
I was gonna say, I think
because you had Psycho, you had Peeping Tom. All of
Psycho,
that
but I think people kind of generally look at either Peeping Tom or Black Christmas as like
Black Christmas, of course,
the kind of prototype, because they have like Peeping Tom. Like, although it's, like, a pioneer in the genre, I guess, it's kind of Black Christmas and Halloween that kind of, like, established
established it, yeah. Like, the final girl trope was not heard of until after that movie came out.
Yeah, literally.
Like, it was totally establishing everything. But it's interesting that you say about, like, those ultimate, like, those last shots of the panoramic views of, like, different parts of the neighborhood. Like, it's still instilling that fear of stranger danger. Like the whole time.
Yeah, it's just showing shots of the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like literally anyone could be anything. So like it's still not popularizing that fear, but just
leaving it open ended.
Exactly.
No,
it's like there's no closure. I mean, like there's no body, so he's not dead. And in horror, as we all know, if there's no body or you don't see them die,
don't see the kill,
they're not dead.
Count. Yeah.
Doesn't
and
count.
Even
they're
then,
not dead.
Horror genre, even if you see the kill, doesn't necessarily count.
Exactly.
But
especially when you know there's a sequel on the way.
Yeah.
And of course it was.
The sequel, like Halloween 2 starts out, like it picks up like
immediately. Yeah. The first Halloween. Like the cops like immediately show up afterwards.
Exactly. I suppose because now they fucked up the timeline. Thanks, Mustafa Akkad.
Deep friend of the pod.
Fuck you, Mustafa Akkad. Okay, you messed up the whole thing. There does not need to be that many. Okay, but. Like in the second movie, they pick up like immediately afterwards, which I love. Like it's the same night. It's literally like minutes later. Michael goes and gets another knife, kills this chick in her kitchen.
Yeah, of course. He just walks straight in.
It just walks straight in. They like reference that super heavily in 2018.
In the new one,
but see now with 2018 coming out, they retcon it so that like when Michael falls off the roof, he just gets arrested. They just arrest Michael.
Of course, yeah. So
which
he's
is kind of
taken and he's thrown back into the sanitarium.
Yeah, like immediately.
Exactly, yeah.
They have the whole thing of like the cop that's in that movie was like the junior deputy like the night that Halloween, which is so stupid. Like that's.
You just have feelings about this.
Well, it seems weird the idea that somebody's like, right guys, book him, and somebody just like puts handcuffs on
Michael Myers
Mariah.
After him.
Somebody puts handcuffs on Michael, and Michael just gets like like, you know, just gets like put in the back of
But
the
he
car.
like he full on lifts someone up and stabs them through a cupboard door.
Yeah.
And holds them there. Like, yeah. But like it's so interesting like about how many sequels that it spawned. I mean, originally the budget for that movie was just over 300,000.
Yeah.
But like from opening weekend onwards, I mean, of course, being at Halloween, 47 million it grossed, over 47 million. And the equivalent now is $150 million that it's grossed, effectively making it the highest grossing independent horror movie of all time.
Yeah.
The highest grossing of all time. And
I wonder how that compares to Blair Witch.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that's absolutely, and it speaks volumes to how independent horror, or not even just independent horror, but independent movies in general, should be given a bigger shot.
Yeah.
Because not everything is going to be a crappy horror movie. I mean, you will get those gems like Halloween was. Like, made on 300,000, made over 150 million by now.
See, when you have no coins, you just go with the old classic of like less is more. Same with Jaws. They showed fuck all of that shark because the shark they had was a piece of dirt. Yeah. Because they couldn't show it. And then it ended up being even the most
terrifying thing.
Even in Alien, you don't see nearly anything of it at all. Even like at the very end of the movie, they barely show anything at all. Yeah. You know? Because like, once you get a decent budget, you can show your creature. But like, once you can, like... Okay, we have a head and some arms. Let's just show
maybe a tail.
We have one suit, you know. Like I love that in Aliens. It looks like there's hundreds of aliens, and they only had 6 suits on that. Mm-hmm. There's only 6 people there dressed as aliens.
So yeah, I really hope you guys liked what we had to talk about today. That was our retrospective on John Carpenter's 1978 classic, Halloween. Ooh. Retrospective.
Boo.
Booey. So yeah, I hope you guys loved it. Like, subscribe, make sure you listen to absolutely everything we got. Turn on your notifications so you know what we have and what we're telling and what we're putting out. Link for any descriptors of, you know, our Instagram links, all that in the descriptions below. And if you have any comments, don't hesitate to let us know. You know, we'll leave all our contact details in the box below.
Find us at They're Here on all socials. And will be available on Spotify, Apple Music, and all good streaming platforms.
And we'll see you soon.